Hello, everybody. By that I mean,
Greetings.
shout out to the one person who's here right now.
But hey, it's all right.
Yes,
We we appreciate the one people.
we appreciate everyone who shows up,
Yes.
um, but especially the one. You know who you are.
hmm
Um,
That's right.
but yeah, we are the Paper Dungeon. And this is Table Scraps. It's a show that we run on Thursdays, about the show that we run on Mondays. We play Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition. It's a great old time. We've been going for almost 2 years now. We're like November
Yeah.
something is our 2 year anniversary. November
Something.
20 so 21st or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That.
Some day.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and I mean, of course, we have our annual plugs that I have to do all the time. Check out our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you know the ones. Uh we have a Discord. If you're not on there, you should be on there because it's pretty cool. We got some pretty cool people there. Our community is awesome. We also have a website with a merch store, www.thepaperdungeon.com, where you can buy merchandise with our logo and little cool pictures and stuff. Speaking of merch and pictures, one of our cast members, Lydia Corinne, who I'm sure that you know very much about at this point in time, does all of our artwork, including our anything that you see on screen that is not a live camera feed. Lydia drew at some point in time. Um,
Pretty great.
so she has her own store, lydiacorinne.com, where you can buy her merchandise. You can commission art from her. It's really awesome. You can get cool art and help Lydia pay rent, which we all will appreciate. Um, so do that. If you want to support us more, we have a Patreon, we have a Ko-Fi, we have Streamlabs donations. Speaking of that, Patreon, we're ramping up Patreon content. So we'll have at least one monthly video, uh, guaranteed. Like that is a thing that we are going to be doing. Um, barring some strange outlandish circumstance. But we also have a couple of other things that we're planning. Grant and I have some things in the works. Yeah, it's going to be some good time. Some of that stuff will be previewed or eventually shared with subscribers through our Discord. So not all of it, because we just basically what we're doing is we're throwing a baited hook into the water to lure more people into giving us more money,
Yes, that's
because
right.
that's what we're about here on the Paper Dungeon.
Hey,
Money.
the goal for all of us is to make at least some profit from this endeavor
Yes, eventually. And then
eventually
it'll
in
all just
in like
funnel
3 years
back
time.
into making the Paper Dungeon better.
Right, exactly. It's we as the cast of the Paper Dungeon want to make money. That way we can spend more on the Paper Dungeon
Yeah,
as the
pretty
cast.
much. So if you want to support us, that's a great way to do so. You get some cool additional content. There's already some cool stuff on there. Grant and I had a one shot. It's an absolute riot. Um, oh geez, there was
And another one shot is supposed to be uploaded this week.
sometime. Did you and Lydia do yours?
No, Lee and I have not
Okay, so
recorded
the
our
one
thing yet.
that will be
But the one
uploaded
shot that
sometime this week ish.
yeah, yeah,
It'll either be this week or next week. I'm not sure which one, but it should be sometime around there.
yeah,
Drew DM'd one for us.
yes.
Absolute
And that's all
comedy
recorded.
gold.
And I think Grant said that he has it all put together pretty much. So
Well, it was great, by the way. Very,
yeah,
very well
thank you.
done.
Thank
Our characters were very fun to play.
you.
Uh,
It was
oh
really
boy,
funny. Oh,
I
you
sing
guys did really, really good.
at some point in time. I sing actually twice or something in that.
Yeah, like
It was
two
a good
whole
time.
songs.
Um, so if you wanna hear my dulcimer tones, then check out the Patreon. But back to the actual thing that we run this show about.
Yes.
We had a game last Monday, and if you couldn't
Yes.
tell
Back
by
to the
the
main campaign.
title,
Woo!
yes, back to the main campaign. Couldn't tell by the title of this one. We stole a knife,
A
um,
knife.
a kniffy.
Yep.
Um, so plot wise,
What do you
to fill you
have?
in,
A knife.
no. To fill you in plot wise as to what's going on in the main campaign, basically we were a little lost for what to do. Lydia's character Renaya has to kill Baphomet. And we were like, oh, how are we gonna do that? And then DJ was like, here's a hook, and we were like, okay. And so then we went to hell. Um,
Yep. As you
We
do.
went to hell to go steal a knife that Lydia can use to kill a demon lord. And it went very well. We went through the first layer of Hell, Avernus, ended up at the Maggot Pit. That's where we started this past episode. Through some very clever machinations, if I do say so myself, using some witchcraft and wizardry, we descend through the Maggot Pit to a burning fortress far beneath the first layer's crust. Infiltrate our way in, work our way through a maze. Cather does obscene amounts of damage. It's like damage to
It's
the point
obscene.
where we need like an R rating. like no numbers that large should be rolled in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Especially at like level 13 or whatever. Oh geez, what's my Abinthy gets super anime at one point in time.
Yep.
Hello, Maz. Maz,
hey,
you are all
hello,
good.
Greetings, Sir Maz.
We are just happy to have you. We're happy to have anyone here.
Everyone. Yes, that's right. As we said at the beginning of this, we are happy for even just the one viewer.
Even the one. But especially, Maz, we thank you for your hard work that you put in as a mod. You are killing it out there, and you are very valued. Where was... Oh, yeah. Abinthy got real anime.
Yeah, real anime.
Oh, man. My favorite trend that we have in the Paper Dungeon is slowly and steadily that you and I are just falling further and further into the depravity that is like one episode people are going to start it up and the entire episode we are just going to be speaking in Japanese. It's going to be dubbed.
Yeah, I was really thinking that.
It's going to have subtitles below and I'm just going to be like Nani? And then you're going to turn around and spew a whole monologue in just Japanese.
Yeah.
But the other people on the cast aren't going to have any idea what we're saying.
Exactly.
They're just going to be sitting there like... They're going to have to turn on the screen to read the subtitles to see what's going on. It's great. We then fight a kind of a punished Archdevil who has been removed from their position of Archdevil. And then Cather once again commits war crimes. And then we grab the dagger and skedaddle.
And we get out of there.
We just yeet ourselves out of hell.
With little to no huff.
And then we set up that the next episode is just going to be us in a sauna for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Which personally
we'll
is a superior episode to a beach episode. Because if we're following anime plot rules, all right, I personally have always been more of a fan of the onsen episodes than the beach episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, I mean, hot take. I know.
The hot spring that they go to at some point in every anime show that looks identical to every other anime show.
You either get a beach episode or you get a hot spring. Mm-hmm. And we got a beach episode in chapter 1.
That's right.
So now we get a hot spring episode in chapter 2.
That's right.
And I'm just saying, hot spring episodes always superior to beach episodes, and I will stand by that, no matter when. New ship is Catherine War Crimes.
Catherine War Crimes.
Warcrathers. I'll think of it as we go.
Well, actually, it's just Cather, but instead of a K, it's a C.
Oh yes, that is actually very fair. But yeah, so let's delve into it. Let's just start at the beginning. I both loved and hated the descent into the maggot pit at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
because DJ informed us afterwards.
It was so gross.
DJ informed us afterwards. He was like, I just put this pit here, and I was like, I don't know how they're gonna get down. I'm sure they'll figure out a way. And I was so excited. I'm like, this is such an Abinthy situation. Like, he has the tools. He's got the toolkit loaded up. I specifically chose spells to help deal with these situations. I'm ready to rock. And then everyone was like, I was like, I have an idea. And they were like, okay, hit me with it. And I was like, this is the idea. And they're like, that's not gonna work. This sucks. I hate everything. Everything is bad. And I'm like, no. The idea isn't
Hold on.
done yet. And they're like, no, we're not going with that. We're going to do something else. And I'm like, but I have the spec. It's right. And they're like, no, we don't like it. We're going to get out of here. And I'm like, I haven't even said what I'm doing yet. And it worked. It was successful. And all these things, everyone's like, oh, what is you going to use polymorph? And I'm like, polymorph lasts an hour. You're going to reach like the bottom of the pit, fall 3,000 feet, and then die.
Well, yes. I mean, so I was with everyone else until you mentioned the time limit on polymorph. I'm like, you know what? That's actually a fair point. We don't know how long it's going to take to get to the bottom.
Yeah, it could have taken, like, it was guessed to be around like an hour down. But like, if you even take like 10 minutes to deal with the whole maggot situation, then oh no, you're 10 minutes from the bottom. 10 minutes of falling is a long time. Yeah. You fall like 3,000 feet in 6 seconds. You die. That's what happens.
Yeah. So unless you're track.
Yeah, unless you're track, and then you realize that the maximum amount of damage that can be dealt to you isn't enough to ever.
Because terminal velocity.
I can't do that anymore.
No, you can't.
It doesn't get to. Well, I can with Featherfall.
Well, with Featherfall, yeah, you could just fall, but then you have to
I don't have like I have like a maximum limit that I can do that.
Or actually, no. Well, no, actually, no. Here is always and forever. Shoot, guys, I just never realized. Okay, so if you don't care about saving your party, you just take levitate and you always survive. Because if you cast levitate on yourself,
that is
you're guaranteed to make it to the bottom completely unharmed.
That is very fair.
If you only care about yourself.
Levitate is just a superior spell for yourself.
It's just because Featherfall, it's because everything, all the magic is spread out. But when it's all congealed to one person,
and you can even make yourself go up.
Yeah,
Levitate is honestly like kind of a ridiculously good spell because situationally it can just completely remove people from a fight because you can't move horizontally. You can only like the spellcaster can move them up or down, but in order to move side to side, you have to make contact with something. So if you're like on a ledge or like near a cliff and there's an enemy, you hit them with levitate, raise them 20 feet, and then push them over a ledge, and they can't fight for the rest of the, like, they can't do anything. They just kind of float there, like, immersed in air, trying to stabilize while they can. It's a great spell. It also works on objects, which is rad. Like, it can lift some, like, real heavy stuff. Like 5,000 pounds or something like that. Like some number.
Some number. I'm not sure exactly what the number is.
Because I know that there was this whole debate as to whether or not Abinthy could levitate this rock. And I'm like, I don't care. I have transmute stone. Like, I can just do that. I can make it work.
So let's see. So the spell can levitate a target that weighs up to 500 pounds.
Oh, 500. Oh, easy. To be fair, though, that's actually not that much if I think about it, because I weigh almost 300 pounds.
I mean,
so like, you could lift one of me and like
you could lift two people basically.
Yeah.
On average, you could lift two people.
Yeah. So if Grant sat on me, it would be fine.
Which, I mean, again, that's still pretty decent.
500
again,
pounds
like,
is still 500 pounds. Does it increase if you cast it at a higher level?
No,
I'm not 100% sure. No, it's just flat.
It's the same, no matter what level you cast it at.
That's a big misplay from Wizards of the Coast. Could you imagine a 9th level levitate where you just like pick up a small mountain? Like you're like levitate, and then you can shove like the chimney rock, just like a little bit.
Right.
Levitate gets scary if you allow high level like increase in weight.
Although however, with telekinesis.
Yeah. Telekinesis, aka levitate plus.
So telekinesis is a 5th level spell, and you can lift 1,000 pounds with that one.
Does it increase when it levels up?
But it also doesn't increase when as you cast a high level, which is a missed opportunity.
So, question: if you cast levitate, if you cast levitate on something and then you cast telekinesis, can you then lift 1,500 pounds? Like if like one wizard casts levitate and then another casts telekinesis. Like, and then you put like a
Uh,
1,000 pound thing on the 500 pound
well,
thing.
okay. Okay, so I think it would depend on DM rule, but I think I think I see what you're getting at, in the sense that levitate doesn't lift the whole thing; it just lifts 500 pounds of the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the telekinesis lifts
Yeah,
the
if
rest
you
of it
have a
with it.
1,500 pound rock
Honestly, I would be fine
and
with
you make
this.
500 pounds of it levitate, but the other 1,000 can't, but then you just telekinesis the 1,000 pounds.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I think that works. I think that counts. I
yeah.
would rule it
I
as like okay.
Yes, I would. I say
Good to know that we've
it's
reached this
it's
conclusion.
it's a very
This is going to be a bad episode of Table Scraps. We're only 20 minutes in, Drew. We're already like levitate and telekinesis.
oh
Um,
dear.
so
Anyway,
we descend the maggot pit on
that's right.
on an elevator made of stone.
Yep.
We then proceed to encounter a bunch of gross stuff, which was just directly targeted at Grant.
Yes,
Um,
I'm very glad that Grant got targeted and not
which
me.
is so good because my favorite thing is like, of course we ask for like permission and like and everything like that first. Grant hates maggots. I learned this earlier on, when we ran the like zombie one shot with the plants and the stuff, because I knew that there was like gross maggot stuff in that one. Grant was like, "Oh man, I hate maggots." I'm like, "Oh, like do you not want, like, I can take them out of the game?" He was like, "No, leave them in.
Do it.
It's for the content."
For the content.
He's
That's
like,
right.
It's better
Word for
if
word.
it's bad." And so he said the same thing to DJ, and I knew because we described it. I think it was afterwards where it's the maggots aren't that bad when they're really big, because then they're just kind of like big dumb cows.
Yeah.
But then when you have like a million tiny maggots, then you've got problems, right? Then it's like, ugh. And so when the first one fell onto the sheet of rock, and it fell directly next to Edward, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Because I literally, I mentioned it in game. I thought to myself, I was like, I should probably like cast like a wall above us, so that way we don't have maggots that rain down on the stone that we have. And then I thought, but it would be way funnier if they did. And I'm like, I'll see where it goes if it's a continuous problem.
Yeah.
Also, Maz, sadly, I'm not a like, I'm fine with Pokemon, but they aren't exactly my genre of game. Like, I don't know, I've just never been good at it. I played Pokemon Emerald, had a blast. Then I never picked up another Pokemon game. Never finished another one.
Yeah. The only Pokemon game I ever played through was Pearl, and that was like back in like junior high.
Yeah. Hey, Handskate, how's it going? You didn't miss much, Handskate.
Maz, to clarify, Pokemon is great. It's just it's just not my drive either.
Like, I think it's so cool, and I'm just not good at it.
Like, my thing is like the process of trying to keep all your Pokemon leveled up.
I know. Are you a level your first one?
I just level my first one. Absolutely. I just go all in on that guy, you know?
I never keep track of, like, I'm so bad with type advantage and stuff like that, and all of the like EVs and the fancy like little oh yeah, well, it has this personality type that does this thing and blah 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 blah. I just don't care. I just want to look. I got Emerald and I went, I'm taking the Mudkip. And then it turned into, I always want to say that Marshtomp is the biggest one, but it's a Swampert because Marshtomp sounds beefier. And then I took Swampert and beat the game with it. And then that's all. I literally, it was like Swampert was level like 98, and then every other Pokemon I had was like level 35.
So with Pearl, I went with Turtwig, who obviously eventually becomes Torterra. Also, rad Pokemon.
Good choice on that one.
But like literally, I think by the end of the game, like my Torterra was like level 100 or whatever. Next closest thing, I think maybe would have been like 50.
Yeah.
And everything else was like 20.
And
like,
I got
literally my battle strategy was just keep Torterra in there as long as I can. If Torterra dies, I throw another Pokemon in just to die. That way I can have a round.
You can full
revive my Torterra.
I got really lucky because Swampert is like an incredibly good typing, where like it's barely weak to anything and is just overall very good against most things. So
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
just got hard carried by complete luck. Um,
Anyway,
but
all
yeah,
that aside.
Pokemon. This isn't what this show is about. But yeah, shoot, what were we talking? I mean, we just the maggot pit. Yeah, it fell down.
Descending the maggot pit.
The big maggot
We're
landed.
still here.
Big maggot landed. I was like, let's see where this goes. Then it exploded into a million tiny maggots. I was like,
Dude,
that's really good.
oh my god.
That's great.
If it
I'm
were
excited
me
for
there,
that.
dude, I would have left like so fast.
And then, okay, I've mentioned it before. I think that one of the reasons Grant thrives on stream is because Grant's biggest strength is physical comedy. Like
Oh yeah.
his actions and movement, facial expressions. My face doesn't change whenever I do it. Like it has like some, but it always looks terrible. Grant is like a living caricature.
Yes.
And it's just hilarious. So he's writhing around covered in maggots. Well, my favorite thing is like we're like, oh, how do we get rid of these maggots? My first thought is AoE spell, and I look at the spells that I have, and I'm like, hey Lydia, do you have anything? Because my options are lightning bolt and fireball.
Yeah.
So it's like
not great choices.
I'm like I could, but I can't guarantee that you will be very good afterwards.
It's just
like to be fair, if it kills Edward, it probably kills the maggots too, right?
probably.
That's like
Yes.
the best I've got. And so I'm like, maybe Renaya has like a cleric like holy word or something, word of radiance. No. So I cut to Cather coming in clutch with a moonbeam. That's just like zzzt, zzzt,
literally just coming in with a bug zapper.
Like a whole body, like just burning. Like it's like a concentrated sunburn.
Yeah.
For poor Edward. And so we managed to get the maggots off. I'm like, I should probably put a shield above us or something like that. So I do. It's great. We're killing it out there.
Yep. We make it through the webs.
Yep, make it down. I set up that the next episode is going to be a sauna episode. I put that in real early. In the break, Grant was like, did you want us to talk more about the sauna? And I go, no. I just want to have a reason as for why we go to the sauna in the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. When next episode, when we cut and we're at the sauna already, people know why.
Maz, let me tell you, remind me as often as you would like, and I'm definitely down to talk about a homebrew magic item. We're just gonna blitz through this. So we eventually make it to the burning hell castle far below the Earth's core.
Yeah. Practically in the second layer of hell at this point.
Basically, we're like we're basically in the TSA section between hells. And
we're just in the waiting room.
Liff, when you have Edward and Cather in a sauna, what else do you expect other than fan service?
I mean,
it's
yeah,
just going to be a
course.
bunch of hot dudes.
Yeah.
It's going to be. This is basically going to be like the live action Dungeons and Dragons version of the anime Free.
I mean, this is basically going to be our breakfast scene.
Oh yeah,
like 2.0.
But we're leaning
basically.
into it this time. We were tame in the last one. That is a question. I do assume that TSA is a version of hell. Like that's a
it's
fair
the 10th layer of hell.
It's there. Yeah, it's the 10th layer, the all-consuming one. You like meet Asmodeus, and then he's like, "All right, you're too bad. I can't keep you here. You have to go to the next layer." And they're like, "I thought there was only 9." He's like, "No, not even I venture into there."
It's like Asmodeus like, yeah, so like you need to meet my boss for this.
Yeah,
like
and
this
then
is above my pay grade.
There's just this really sad looking like person in a security guard outfit, and they're like, put your shoes in the box, and you're like, do I have to? And they're like, you've got to put your shoes in the box, but raise your arms. All right, turn around, raise your arms. You're gonna have to come over here. We're gonna have to spot check you. Like, you're like, oh, come on. And then you realize that you left your keys in your pocket.
Yep.
And they're like, no, sorry, you're gonna have to leave those here. And I can't drive home. They're like, that's not my problem. You could use it as a weapon. And you're like, but it's a set of keys. And they're like, well, should have had someone else
All
drive
right.
you. Like,
What-
um,
I don't know what to tell you.
oh man, yeah, we make it to TSA Castle.
Hmm.
It's in ruins. Everything's real sucky. It's great. We head in. It's a maze. Thankfully,
Hmm.
Lydia is contracted with Baphomet, uh, Demon Lord of Mazes. Pretty sure that's what he does. Um, I'm like,
He's just a general contractor who builds
yeah,
mazes.
he's the person who puts the like crossword puzzles in newspapers.
Yeah.
That's what
Uh-huh.
I assume because you know that like that's a profession.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Like yes, I'm the crossword guy, and then that's Baphomet.
Yep.
But yeah, so we head in, and Lydia's like, I'm a Minotaur cultist, so therefore I can remember any path I have ever walked to go anywhere. And we're like, oh well, that's gonna make this maze real easy. Then we stumble across the thing that I killed my players with in Between the Rows, Sins of the Father, aka Hellfire Engine. Those things are great. Gotta
They
love
suck.
Hellfire Engines. Um,
Yeah.
they do fun things and are pretty hard to kill unless you have a paladin that will crit and deal
That
like
that,
100
that
damage.
old crit and yeah, like
Yeah,
100 damage exactly.
turns out having a paladin that crits even like 1/20th of the time,
Mm-hmm.
which to be
It's really
fair
strong.
is not, it's like that is the actual statistics. Like you have a 1 in 20 chance obviously, so even if you perform scientifically, it's still that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So uh Abinthy just teleports Cather behind the Hellfire Engine. He
Yep.
stabs it in the butt, and then it still manages to do a bit of damage.
Yeah.
And then we just wipe it out, and it's great.
Yeah. I must admit, I was a little frustrated both with myself and with DJ because I you teleported me behind it. I got a mad crit on it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Almost took it out. Well, not quite almost took it out, but I probably brought it down pretty
I
low.
mean, you did it over 50% of its health.
Yeah. And then like I did figure this thing was probably dead. My companions would probably finish it off, no problem, whatever, right? And so as a joke, I had mentioned, oh yeah, I'll just walk away. Not
A
actually
fatal
really
mistake.
and not actually really like thinking that I would walk away. Like I literally just meant it as a joke. But
I took it as honesty. I thought for sure. I was like, to be fair, I would have done the same.
and then when it charges, I'm like, I'll attack it. It's like you can't attack it. You're 30 feet away. I'm like, oh,
You've been had.
okay, I guess.
You've been absolutely had, Drew, and I don't know what else to tell you.
So
Um,
note to self: next time, don't say anything. Don't make any jokes.
absolutely
Don't
no.
do anything. Nope.
Or preface it because
Everything you
it's
say in
way
court
funnier.
can and will be used
It's way
against you.
funnier if you preface it with, as a joke, I will walk away, but not in reality. Mentally, I will do so. So that way I remain within melee range.
Next time I'll just say Cather considers walking away,
Yes, he
but
thinks
decides to
about it.
stay.
It would be really cool if he did. Um, but yeah, so we managed to dispatch a Hellfire Engine. We make our way eventually to a pair of double doors into a broom closet that
Yep.
holds just a bunch of garbage. We should have looted the whole room. Big misplay. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well.
Right next to that dagger that we stole was the anti-anathema.
Yeah. Right.
It's just an Uzi that shoots out bullets that kills anyone who is even related to the anathema. You
Yep.
can just fire it into the air. It's Chekhov's gun. You leave it on a table, and eventually it will be used to kill the anathema.
Yep.
Um,
Although, I mean, to be fair, if we did do that, we would have had to fight a bone devil,
oh, pish posh.
which is fine. But the thing is, like by that point, like I apparently was the only person who wasn't ready to just end the stream and leave.
Oh, I wasn't. I was ready to hang out here, but I'm like I should probably go with the wishes of the people who do. I thought things were going fine. Um, so to explain, there's a little imp in there who's just a
Yep.
real stinker, real
Yep.
just pain in the neck. His name is Moloch, And while he's in hell, he's an imp. But while he's outside of hell, he's just the worst, like a pit fiend. It's not good. Real good at magic, and he was accompanied by 2 bone devils.
Right.
And so we had a very elaborate scheme that involved us doing the exact same thing that we did previously that ruined some people's plans, aka DJs, and did not work this time. Not nearly as effective when we sent in pockets invisibly to steal this dagger.
Yeah. It was so okay. Literally, I was thinking to myself too. I was going to be both really, really proud of Lydia if the plan worked, but at the same time, actually like kind of upset because while like for the past several episodes, I've been mentioning how I've been really wanting to get into combat, right?
Yeah.
This was the combat I was looking forward to. You know, not just some random combat with a construct that doesn't matter, although that was really cool, like especially getting a crit.
Mm-hmm.
Like an actual like story combat. That's something I was looking forward to. And so then when Lydia presents this plan, I'm thinking to myself, crap, this like actually could work, and we just totally circumvent this fight.
I never once had that thought cross my mind.
I'm gonna be kind of sad. I'm actually gonna be kind of sad.
And then I was thinking of the logistics of it, and I'm like, there is 0 chance in my mind that this functions as intended. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, the way that DJ has worded this, it's an ex-Archdevil who has really good magic stuff.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, 1 for sure has true sight.
Yeah.
I have ran my,
yeah.
like in the campaigns that I run, I grab high level things. If it's high level, it has true sight, and it sucks every time. It always sucks. It completely shuts down like so many random things. No illusion spells, no disguise. It's just a bad. You know what's funny though? Everyone out there who's like, I have disguise self or like alter self and stuff like that. True sight sees through all of it. You know what true sight doesn't work on?
What?
A disguise kit. You throw a fake mustache on, true sight does not see through that. It sees that it is a mustache.
Yeah, well, it's because it sees through magical illusions.
Absolutely. So in reality, all you rogues out there who are like, what's even the point of me having this disguise kit when my wizard can just cast disguise self as an action? It takes me an hour to put on all this makeup. No. You can beat out God when it comes to your disguise.
That's right.
When those foolish wizards head up there and they're like, yes, let me pass your pearly gates. And they're like, no, sorry. You walk up there with your Groucho glasses on, and they're like, this guy seems legit. This guy seems on the up and up. I don't know what else to say.
Understand?
But yeah, so we send Pockets in. It doesn't work. It's like 60 feet away. He grabs a dagger. Pockets is there. He's like in full sprint, Usain Bolt mode. And then he's like, this isn't going to work anymore. So we enter combat. I crit on my initiative. So I have a 33 combat.
I also crit on my initiative. But it was just a critical fail.
I am ecstatic. I love having a plus 13 initiative. Nothing makes it actually might
literally got 33 on initiative.
Yeah, 33 initiative. It was great. I could have gone, even if you subtracted like my actual like if you did the rogue thing where you took minus 10 to the roll and you take a second turn, I still would have gone first. I would have gone first twice.
Yeah. Well, so actually, see, I think it would be a really funny mechanic though someday. It would kind of suck for me because I get the butt end of it.
Initiative is always the worst.
But I do think it would be kind of funny if you had like an initiative that was outside of the realms of 1 through 20, like that actually like had an effect on like your first turns of combat.
Like if you
because the whole idea of initiative roll, right, is like how quick you are to react to a situation starting.
And
so like you rolling like
like if you break 25 on your initiative, because that's like once you get to like impossible is 30, right? So more like if I feel like if you break 30, it should count as you get it
like a whole extra turn. Yeah,
you get surprise round, and then combat proceeds as normal. I could see that being a viable thing.
Yeah, like in my mind, like you basically just take the rolls and like so like say like or like say even so like say you got like a 33, so like you go at initiative count 33, but then you also like go at like initiative count like 13.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
Like
straight up.
that would be kind of
Uh,
interesting.
I would love. Could you imagine if like we're about to be ambushed, like we're walking on a trail and a bunch of bandits show up and they're like, they've walked directly into our trap, and then they jump out of the bushes and they're like, give us all of your money. And then Abby turns around. He straight up gets the Uchiha like
Yeah.
Sharingan eye. He turns around. They go to fire a bolt at him, and then he just appears behind him. He's like, actually, it's my surprise, and he just starts stabbing people. I'm ambushing you because he got like a 35.
He just everything just plays the reverse Uno card.
Oh man,
Oh, that would be
it's like
that'd be really
that.
fun.
There's a fight in Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater where you fight against this elderly man with a sniper rifle, which also so I'm gonna get on a bit of a tangent. I love Metal Gear Solid. It's my favorite game series. It's incredible. In this fight, there are so many ways to win, and so many ways to lose. One of them is if you just like let the game sit for long enough, the enemy dies of old age. Like he just dies. You can take a fake death pill, like you just pass out for a little while, and it'll be like, oh, he'll like roll up to you, because I think he might even be in a wheelchair, which is fantastic. He'll like roll up and be like, must have kicked the bucket, or like, oh, I must have hit the shot, and then you can like wake up and shoot him, like this, oh shoot, and then he dies. It's the game's overall incredible. Like it might be one of the most intricate games I've ever seen created. You literally, it adjusts to your like a dark vision. So like, you know how when you're in a dark room, your eyes eventually adjust to the light. There's a moment when you're dropped into a really dark pit that if you just leave the game on for long enough, eventually the screen will filter out the light and adjust to it, just like your eyes would in that dark circuit. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Wow.
But in that same situation, you can creep up on the guy who's trying to snipe you from a different angle. So while he's trying to ambush you, you can ambush him. That's a 35 initiative. Yeah. Is when they're like, we've laid this trap, and then you walk up behind, you're like, I've laid this trap. But yeah, so Abinthy goes first. This is when it gets real anime. Yep. I've been cooking up what Abinthy says, like kind of how Abinthy's combat situation works, because I do want it to be almost comically anime.
Yeah,
that's like so up my alley. So when he triggers Terpsichore, which is his holstered haste spell, which is sick, he says Terpsichore, String Waltz, first step, Silver Wind. And so depending on the step that he's on, because he doesn't always start with the first step. First step is Silver Wind, which is Steel Wind Strike. I haven't quite come up with the rest of the names for the steps, but he has different step names depending on which spell he's casting. They all sound super rad in anime. And they're awesome.
You're just yelling out your anime attack.
That's what I want to be doing.
Yep.
And it worked perfectly. Steel Wind Strike, incredible spell. Yeah. It might output some of the most... Like, if you hit on all of your hits...
Yeah.
Because it targets 6 people and does 6d10. Which means that you could theoretically deal 36d10, assuming that you hit every single one. And that isn't counting critical hits. Because you can crit on it. So if you crit every single hit of your 6 hits, you deal, 102? Something like that? Like 102 d10 of damage if you crit every single hit? Just going off of base, like, double the die stuff.
Yeah.
That is kind of wild. And it's like a 5th level spell. Like, Abinthy can do this twice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 60-10 per strike, and if you're hitting all 6 people, that's that's 36 d10, which is comparable to even something like, a meteor swarm.
Yeah, meteor swarm can't crit.
Yes.
Yeah, and then and then you teleport to one of the people that you tried to attack. So like it's good for positioning, it's good for flanking. Like if Cather's fighting someone amidst a bunch of people, and I need to position myself in a way that Cather can get flanking on his next attack, I can do that really easily.
Oh my goodness. I just, dude, all see. I'm just beginning to picture in my head like all these really cool fight scenes of like Cather's fighting like 5 dudes and he can't get to like the main boss. All of a sudden,
just a
like Abithy just appears and like slices, these 5 dudes, and then at the same time he like reaches out and like teleports Cather to the main boss.
That's the goal. Is I do cool stuff. I do find it funny because we really have split ourselves into our like preordained roles of Abinthy and Cather are the combat people, and then Lydia and Grant are the like roleplay people.
Yep.
And so they're like, ah, yes, an interactive situation. You two go do the talk things, says Abinthy with his +0 charisma.
Yep.
And then straight up God shows up and asks for a fight, and we're like, I've been waiting.
I've been waiting for this is my moment.
It's
I must say, no, like I think in this particular combat with the 2 Bone Devils and Moloch, I do think everyone did really, really well. Like and like had some really good creative and useful like turns. But
shout
I
out
am
to
a little
Grant.
Right, honestly, dude. So Grant's use of the suggestion spell in that instance alone, honestly, made me think, man, that's like really powerful.
It's a good
like,
spell, dude.
Like I knew suggestion is a pretty decently strong spell, but like I was literally reading through it like during the episode. I went back like while like combat was happening. I went back and read through the spell because normally with charm spells, like if you're in combat, the person has like advantage to save if you're like if you're in direct opposition to them.
Nope.
When you're casting the spell.
Not for suggestion.
That's not a thing on suggestion. So literally, it's like a minute-long charm person where you just be like, "Hey, you should do this thing for me." And it's like, "Okay, great." And it doesn't matter if you just stabbed the dude just before then. It doesn't matter. And it blew my mind.
It's a good one, dude. It's a good one. And yes, Maz, only seeing this now. Not only did Grant crush it on the whole suggestion spell, he also rolled so many ones.
So many ones.
So
it was a counterbalance me. That's the problem.
Single-handedly raised the nat 1 counter by like 15, dude.
It was he rolled quite a few ones.
My guy was going crazy on the nat ones.
It was our fault, Aaron. It's because we crit so many times.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think I crit on my initiative. That's fair. The least important. Oh, yo, thanks for the raid. I can't read.
Lolshurha.
I thought it was an I, so it was a Lois. Thank you for the raid.
Maybe that's how you Lolshurha?
Lolshurha. I literally think it is 3 distinct words. Thanks for the raid. We're talking about a Dungeons & Dragons game that we play on Mondays at 7 p.m. CST. So if you want a little bit more context to the conversation that we're having, feel free to tune in on Monday. Also, all of our episodes are up on YouTube, pretty much anywhere you can watch a podcast, Spotify, that kind of stuff. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's all right. I think we do fine. We also have TikTok and stuff. There are worse podcasts.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh my god, you already watched them on YouTube? Yo, that's sick. I honestly thought that you were just like, I don't know, let's raid some people. It's nice to know that you've actually seen us before. And Grant will be very excited to hear that there's someone who watches us on YouTube.
Yes, Grant is always excited about that.
Well, welcome.
Anyway, where were we?
Geez. Combat. The suggestion spell, Grant rolling a whole bunch of ones.
Yeah, suggestion spell that Grant did was really good.
And then pretty much the rest of it was... so we got to experience how low my health pool is. Which is like, I went from having like 250 health to having 85. So now I get stabbed once
Yep.
and they're like, "Is anyone in severe danger?" And the answer is yes, I am. But then you heal me for like 15 health, and I'm almost at full. Like
Yep.
there's like no in between of like, oh well, yeah, I got stabbed, but I'm okay. No, I get stabbed once, and it's like, oh, I'm I see the light. I'm almost there.
Well,
Um,
especially with like this is something I thought about afterwards. Like uh this particular combat is very easy for all four of us to kind of shine because in a way it wasn't a real combat given the fact that like we were fighting two bone devils,
mm-hmm.
one of which got immediately
Yeah,
ensorcelled
yeah.
to be on our side, and then the imp is just running away the whole time. So it's like not even like a fully real combat, which allowed all of us to shine really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
But that all that being said, we are high enough level that like a wizard could easily get like two shot.
Oh, dude, one crit and I'm gone.
Yeah,
I'm out.
like
I'm dead.
it's not great.
And I have ways to like the goal of Abinthy. Also, Lol Sure Ha. Uh, super cool to hear that you've been following for like 6 months. If you aren't on our Discord, we would love to have you there. This goes for everyone who sees this now and in the future. But it's a really cool community, and you can talk about stuff like that. And also, it helps our statistics on knowing where people come from when they like tune in and stuff. So yes, hello again. Um, but yeah, so I have a the magic item. Oh geez, filter of vitality or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
like the vial of vitality or something?
yeah, it's something like that.
Something of vitality?
But it basically says when I'm at 0 health, I stabilize, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
when I spend hit die, I regain twice the amount of health rolled, which is really good with the spell Wither and Bloom, which allows me to hit all creatures within like a 20-foot radius, and then one of the creatures I can that are in that radius I can also target to spend a hit die to regain that much health. So I have a form of um, self-sustain. So the goal of Abinthy was to require the least amount of assistance from other people to let them do the things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't want to have people heal me all the time. I'm down to be there and like deal damage and then take a little bit of turns off, still deal a little damage, but then heal myself up in that meantime. It wasn't a very good combat for that specifically because it was like I have to figure out how to deal with getting this dang flying imp down.
Right.
And then it teleported, which sucked.
Right.
Teleportation, worst mechanic in Dungeons and Dragons. I think they should just get it out of there. The only type of teleportation that should be in Dungeon hot take. Only type of teleportation that should be allowed is things like Arcane Gate. It needs to be like whole action things that are very clear where you're going and are really just like you walking to a different place. Like I'm fine with Vortex Warp. Vortex Warp is fine because it only targets other people. But like Misty, I think that oh geez, what's the door? What's the teleportation door?
Dimension door.
Dimension door. Thank you. I'm like I know that there's a word. Dimension door. You should be very clear where you're going. First off, there should be no like, oh, where did they go? I don't know. Misty Step should also be very clear because you just turn it. It isn't like you poof. I think that you should turn into mist and then just go to a different place. It isn't like a where did they go? No, gone. They're there. Like teleportation should be clear, very obvious where the people go. You should see a door open in two separate locations, or it should take like a whole action to do, and it remains open.
That is a hot take.
Hot take. I just think that teleportation kind of sucks, dude. Like it's so uninteractable. Like there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah, I do think it is. There does need to be more ways to interact with teleportation, or like I don't think I would necessarily go as far as to say like for sure where they're going all the time, but definitely like more ways to stop it,
Mm-hmm.
because like the only thing right now, as far as I know, is like with the Mace Slayer feat, if you're within 5 feet of the person who is casting a teleportation spell, you can hit them, and so then maybe
And
they
maybe
can.
stop them and like interrupt the spell from being cast.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't work if it's a passive ability.
Yeah, if it's an
Like
ability,
if it's a
as
thing that they
displayed in
can
this
do.
last episode.
Yep. And now there is one class in the game. This is what's almost more frustrating to me. There is one class in the game that gets to say no. And when a creature teleports, regardless of spell or ability, if it specifically says teleports, they can just shut it down. They say no. You don't get to do that. You don't get to have fun. You don't get to leave. You don't get to run. And it's a ranger subclass, I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say, isn't that like a rise mark or something?
Yeah, it's like I think it might be the monster hunter subclass, which is kind of funky. To my Dungeons and Dragons, to my shelf of books. Oh gosh, God, I'm old. Aaron's new spice book. To be fair, should be a spice book in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is Monster Slayer. At the 11th level, you gain the ability to thwart someone else's magic. When you see a creature casting a spell or teleporting within 60 feet of you, you can use your reaction to try to magically foil it. The creature must succeed a DC Wisdom saving throw, or if they fail, its spell or teleportation fails and is wasted. You can use this feature. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest.
Yep. And it's pretty like that's super cool. I love that. Um I'm glad that you think that we're calming even when we're frustrated. Um but yeah, I love that, but it almost makes me more upset when there's one niche class in the game that gets to just say no, I can interact with that, and no one else. There is no other way to do so. Like, to be fair, I think that the Monster Slayer subclass is so underrated.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that Ranger class, I legit
I mean,
think
honestly,
it's.
I personally speaking, I like all the Xanathar subclasses
I mean,
for
they're
a
all
ranger.
sick, but like the Monster Slayer one, so like, I think it gets thrown under the bus a little bit just because it's so basic, right? You hear Monster Slayer and you're like,
Yeah.
meh, it's probably not that interesting. Dude, all of the abilities that it has are like really good. It has really good spells. It gets protection from evil and good, Zone of Truth, Magic Circle, Banishment, Hold Monster, all of which are great. They have some of them are pretty niche, but they're always pretty useful. Hunter's Sense, you can purge a creature and just know how to hurt it well. As an action, choose a creature within 60 feet of you. Know the creature has immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities and what they are. If they are hidden from divination magic, you sense that it has no damage, immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, which almost never happens. Hi, Lydia. And yes, Maz, that's what I'm talking about now. So you can just straight up look at it and go, oh, yeah, don't hit it with a stick, hit it with a spear.
Yep.
Great. Slayer's Prey, also at 3rd level. You can focus your ire on a foe. As a bonus action, you designate a creature within 60 feet of you as the target of the feature. The first time on each turn you hit it with an attack, it takes an extra d6. It'll last until you finish a short rest or a long rest. Just really good. There's no limit to the amount of times you can use that ability. Like, it's just Hunter's Mark for free. You can have double Hunter's Mark.
Yeah.
I'm in. Supernatural defenses at level 7. When the target of your Slayer's Prey forces you to make a saving throw, and whenever you make an ability check to escape that target's grapple, add a d6 to your roll. So you just slap that puppy on the boss, and they're like, Dragon Fear, and you're like, screw you. Like, I hate you, and they're like, oh. Magic User's Nemesis. We just talked about that. When a creature casting a spell or teleporting within 60 feet of you, you can just say no, no limit to the amount of times you can do that either. You can just use your reaction. You gain an infinite counter spell.
Well, not quite.
I mean, kinda.
Because you can. I mean, you can only use it once per day.
Oh, shoot, yeah, it is once per day. I misread that. That's on me. I got too excited. Still,
Yeah.
once per day, you get a free counterspell that works against ability teleportation.
Yeah.
You know
thing
how
that
many...
counterspell.
I can count at least 3 combats in our main campaign that would have, like, blown the combat out of the water.
And I mean, and the thing is, right, and so, like, because pretty much for the whole campaign, we've had somebody who has access to counterspell. The problem is, it is very common to have stuff like teleportation that is just an ability that you can't counterspell.
Straight up, okay. And
which is
if
really
if you use counterspell, there's a high likeliness that the opponent also has counterspell because you're probably countering magic. So most likely they took counterspell, which for me is my main challenge is Abinthy, where I have to somehow find a way to get them to use their reaction. So that way they can't counterspell my counterspell. So I have to threaten them with a dangerous enough spell that they try to counterspell me. But in reality, it just kind of ends with us as a stalemate, looking at each other, both with holstered counterspells, as no one ever casts them because they know that whoever casts first loses.
Yeah, basically.
But Magic User's Nemesis, straight up fight against the first of the Anathema, ended like 7 combats earlier. None of us die.
Yeah,
because Catherine's like,
dude, literally teleported 3 times.
I'm within your range. And then the guy's like, teleport. And then the Monster Hunter just goes, no. And they're like, oh, shoot. And then you beat them to death with a stick.
Yep.
Fight against the double dragons, not the video game. We kill the first dragon. We go to help the other dragon. The dragon's like, nope, I'm out of here. Monster Hunter goes, screw you. And then they're like, oh, shoot. This most recent combat, the guy's up there, he's like, haha, I'm flying and out of range. And Abinthy's like, I'm going to cast Dispel Magic on your fly. And he's like, not if you can't see me. And then he teleports away. The Monster Hunter goes, screw you. And then Abinthy says, fall. And then Abinthy beats him to death with a stick. Like, easiest. Monster Hunter solves so many of our problems. And it makes me so upset that even if there was a feat or something that like just had to deal with dealing with teleportation, I would take it like every character. Because it's so frustrating. Even just having one time a day that you can stop a teleportation thing should be a thing that exists. I will stand by it. Can command word work? Not to stop teleportation per se. It would allow, like, you could command them to descend if they're flying, and then they would move to the ground. But it doesn't, like, I don't know if you could command them to remain. I don't know if that works. Stay? That's an interesting proposition. I would have to read more into command, because it's possible that it might. But still very frustrating.
The main problem is that command is an action.
Yeah, and then they have to take that immediately, don't they? Oh shoot, does command use their reaction?
So you speak one word command to a creature you see within range. Target must succeed on wisdom saving throw. Wisdom saving throw or follow the command on its next turn.
Oh. Well, then in that case, it would work against teleportation, because if you said stay, then they wouldn't be able to go anywhere.
Right, but that would be which would work, assuming that, like, one, you knew that they could teleport beforehand, and 2, you're willing to, use your entire turn just to make sure that they don't. And it's even a gamble because that's assuming that they don't succeed on the save.
Yep. That's just it's just one of Aaron's gripes.
That is a creative.
That is a good use of this spell.
That is a creative solution. Not one that I necessarily thought of.
No, not at all. Never came to mind. Also, final ability at level 15. If the target of your Slayer's Prey forces you to make a saving throw, you can use your reaction to make one weapon attack against the quarry. You make this attack immediately before making the saving throw, and if your attack hits, you save automatically. in addition to the attack's normal effects. So
Yeah,
that's
basically
that's pretty sick, dude.
that's actually really strong because basically you can.
Well,
I shouldn't say guarantee.
you remove the like, if you min max the Monster Slayer class, you remove the fact that you have weak stats in some areas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like literally, it's similar to Paladin even in the sense like all your saving throws are like solid.
Yeah.
Because like literally, it's just like, oh, I just have to hit you with an attack, something that I'm good at, and I just succeed automatically.
Oh yeah. There's
Which, especially as a ranger,
oh yeah,
you have like a by level 15, you probably have like a minimum plus 15 to hit
somewhere around there. If you have your like magic items and stuff figured out and good stats, good proficiencies, it's legit. Like, could you imagine a barbarian that had that ability? That they were like, I'm gonna force you to make an intelligence saving throw, and they just go, I hit you with a stick, and you're like, oh shoot, like
that would be really funny.
Like that's so good. Like that's ridiculous. That's so. Hey, look. Next time I'm playing in a long campaign,
you're playing a ranger,
dude. I'm gonna foil so many people's plans. And even if I only go to level 15, because like who really cares about the last 5 levels of ranger, right? I could go into any other class for those 5. Rogue, could go to do rogue stuff. I don't even know what class, but like it's good stuff.
Aaron, this is
man.
what you do. Aaron, this is what you do. So you take your 15 levels into ranger, and then you just take the other 5 again in wizard for war mage.
I told Grant recently, if Edward was not in the party, I would take 2 levels in fighter. As honest,
I mean, it would fit Aventhy real well.
Because, dude, could you imagine? Because second level is when you get action surge. Could you imagine level 20? I have 2 levels into fighter.
Aventhy with honestly, you could still do it.
I mean, I could, but I don't want to take his shtick, right? So, this is how level 20 Aventhy goes. Assuming I roll maximum on all of my dice. Let's just assume that most optimal turn Aventhy. First turn, I go first because I have a 37 8. Like,
yeah, because you rolled a billion on your initiative.
Time stop, followed by gosh dang, delayed blast fireball. And then I just and crown of stars. Then I start just making frost orbs.
Yep.
And then on the last turn, I do like make another frost orb, Terpsichore. So a haste activates, the delayed blast fireball goes off. I proceed to then, on my first round of combat that everyone is alive and awake, go Silver Wind Strike or Steel Wind Strike into like arc lightning with my action surge.
Yeah, chain lightning.
Stab someone with a sword for my hasted action, and then use like Crown of Stars to blow someone up as a bonus action. And I stand there and the entire field of battle is dead.
I mean, like, just saying, that's a pretty sick turn, dude.
I become Dio at level 20 with action surge. Someone they like walk out and I go, "Oh, you're approaching me, are you, Jonathan?" And then I say, "Zogorodo," and then just start throwing knives at people.
Well, I was gonna say, so after, so kind of getting back on track. So after, of course, Cather, is last initiative, and managed to have his own anime moment, unsheathing his sword and stuff, with his sick new broken blade.
I got too distracted by complaining about teleportation. Got some cool capture stuff going on.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so this, I've been waiting so long for this, because, and honestly, this was supposed to be just the first reveal that his blade was broken at all. But Edward and Renaya have to be good friends and stuff, and talk to Cather beforehand. And
worst.
So of course he kind of shows off the broken blade beforehand anyway. But it still was a really cool reveal of like how his sword functions currently, which is it's really rad. It's really sick. I like it a lot.
I'm so excited to fix it and get rid of it.
Right. Yes. And we'll see what happens because honestly, because DJ, so something that DJ mentioned um when we first came up with the idea, which by the way, Aaron, I find it hilarious. Like 2 weeks ago or something like that, 2, 3 weeks ago, you had passively mentioned this idea that like Cather's sword would be like this sword like chain whip
I
thing.
remember mentioning that.
And literally I had to hold it back because we basically already come up with that beforehand, like literally a couple
Just
days
saying.
before that table scraps. Deej and I had talked. I'm like, so like what's up? What are we gonna do with like? So I brought forward. It's like, well, so like Cather's, with Cather being Oathbreaker now, I really want like something significant to be with his sword because his sword is kind of directly tied to his oath. He's like, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
It's like,
represents his inner turmoil.
and so he's like, well, check this out. How about this? And he makes this little scribble. He's like, how about this? Your sword is broken, but it's magically like it holds together. It kind of like floats there. I'm like, dude, that's sick. It's like, and I'll tell you what, we'll even give you a ranged attack with it. You can basically throw your sword. I'm like, dude, that's so
Done.
sick. I'm in.
Um,
I'm in. And so I've been waiting for this really anime moment where I could describe like this black
dude,
fire erupting from his scabbard.
it got so edgy, and I loved it. Like I
Yeah.
legitimately like. I wish that I was at the skill level of art where I could do like animations and stuff,
Oh yeah, dude.
just so I could make a custom AMV of
Of
like
this entire
Cather like
combat.
pulling out his like sword, and then just like um the drug in me is you starts to play in the background. It's like I heard a knock upon my door the other day. I opened it to find you staring at my face. The curse of mortal strife, it still reverberates.
Yep.
Everywhere I go, I drag this coffin just in case. Ah, da-na-na-na-na. And then like,
Yep.
and Kath is just swinging her cool sword whip
Yep.
around. It's
Well, yeah.
and it got edgier, dude. You were like,
Uh-huh.
black smoke emanates from the scabbard, fire holding the blade together. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's pretty edgy. And then like 2 turns later, you were like, if you examine it closer, not only is there black smoke and fire, but blood still stains the edge.
Well, okay, yeah. So to clarify,
It
and I
got
was
so
actually
edgy.
I meant to describe all of that on the first turn, but I was a little rushed because Lydia had to go to the bathroom, but I
Right, yeah,
wanted
you had a
Lydia to
lot of
be
stuff going
there.
on.
So I ended up, mentioning it after like a little bit later. But so and so to kind of give some insight. So the reason why the black fire is there at all really is just because like hellfire is kind of the general theme of like
Oh yeah.
Oathbreaker in general.
Uh huh.
So I wanted a good way to kind of incorporate that. And so then the black stain of soot and ash on the blade is just because of the fire, right? And it's like because of this because it leaves behind this black stain because of this kind of unholy corrupted nature of it. The blood stain actually is a callback to when Cather first took his oath, because if you remember when he first took his oath, he got his silver mask,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically got a blessing from all three of the gods of death. The thing that Ozulok gave him, the thief, is he bled on Cather's blades to make it holy,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And the description of that was him basically pressing his thumb to it and a single streak of blood
Yeah.
running along the edge of the
The
blade.
super edgy drop of blood.
Uh-huh. And so now that he's broken his oath, that bloodstain had been revealed basically,
Mm-hmm.
kind of as a mark of of the broken oath. The fact that
Yeah.
it, so yeah, and it's really sick. And I kind of wish I was able to describe it a bit more because part of me feels bad because both Grant and Lydia were really done by the end of the episode. I was so excited, and I maybe got a little too excited about combat.
What are you gonna do?
But one feature of the blade that I used, but I didn't describe it all, which I'm kind of upset about, is this really interesting feature that it currently has, where Cather can do like a massive burst of damage,
But it damages
except
himself as
he
well.
also takes the damage.
Mm-hmm.
Which I basically approached. He's like, DJ, like, so I had this idea of like a thing that a sword can do, but like I kind of want it to be like kind of busted, but at like a price. It's like, okay, like, so because originally like his blade like kind of fit with like the whole idea of like oh hey, if you can turn like a miss into a hit possibly by like making it so that I can expend a charge of the blade and make a roll of 12 or lower or 13.
Hmm.
Um, kind of like basically bending reality, like
Yeah.
bending fate to make it so that instead of missing hits. It's like, okay. But I kind of like that like since he's an oathbreaker of fate, like what would be the flip side of that? Like, well, maybe it could just be like, assuming that he does hit, he could just do like massive amounts of damage because he wants to. It's
Hmm.
kind of like a corrupted version of that. And like, it's like, what if he does like just like I don't know, like 50 damage, but he also like takes 50 damage. AT's just like, I love that. I'm like,
So I'm just
nice.
saying, I think what should have been better, because like 50 for 50 is like that's still fair. I think that it should have been like 50, but you deal yourself 75.
Yeah, maybe,
Because like
maybe.
how much health does Cather have?
120.
One to oh yeah, absolutely. Go with the 75, because with the 50 you can almost do that 3 times, but like
Well,
with the
no, he can
75 you
only
got
he well,
warped.
well so okay. So I was gonna get into that. He can only do it once per day.
Okay, once per day. Gotcha.
He
That
can
makes
only
it
do it once
better.
per day, and if he choose well, and so he can only do it once per day. If he wants to do it more than once per day, he also takes a level of exhaustion.
Okay. I still think 75 is better. I think
You
I
think
think
you think so?
thematically, because it's like you have to like overclock your divinity to make this damage go through.
Uh
So
huh.
it isn't like a fair trade. You straight up like give up a portion of your soul to murder people.
Yeah, that's fair.
And how much edgier is that?
But yeah, but anyway, so all that happened. Not necessarily revealed in the best way in the episode, but still pretty sick.
Still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but
and
yeah,
and you'll never see it again because by the time we have combat again, it's gonna be
nine
like
more,
level
nine
15,
more episodes. We have one combat every 10 episodes.
right?
That's what we've got.
I was just a little butthurt because I'm just like, for all the complaining that Lydia and Grant do about when we get into combat, the proportion of role play to combat is not even in the
No,
slightest.
not at all.
Like people complain if we take 2 hours in an episode to do combat when we have 5 episodes of role play in a row. I'm just like, come
What are
on,
you gonna do?
guys.
What are you gonna do? Me,
Let me be
I'm
excited about
just
my one
chilling.
thing, please. Anyway.
For Christmas, I hope that they get you like a TI-84 calculator. That's what I hope that they do. I think that's what, like a scientific calculator. You can
That
graph
would
out your
be really
damage.
funny.
Um,
Oh man, that would be really, really funny.
but yeah,
Well, I mean, it's just really the problem is just because so we're at the stage of the game, right? Where as a paladin, you just roll obscene numbers of dice.
oh yeah, if you hit,
Because
things hurt.
literally like eat pretty easily, I can, I have my normal weapon damage plus improved divine smite on every damage on every attack, which is just basically just extra rated damage, plus a divine smite on top of that. Plus, if I want to put any other, bonus action smite on that, it's a lot. That's
It's
a
a lot of
lot of
damage.
dice. Like it's just like it's like what it'd be. It's like an average of like 8 to 10 dice,
I mean, yeah, you're dealing
every
like
attack.
80 to 90 damage, like without crits and like
Hmm.
a slightly above average rolls. Like
Yeah,
Cather hurts.
yeah,
Um, so I mean, so there's an interesting conversation to be had too, because it's like fifth edition, especially with the like monsters that they have. It's fifth edition is pretty easy in terms of like fighting, in my
uh-huh.
opinion. I think that like you have to be
It's
really busted as
yeah,
like a DM, like in terms of monsters that you make, to make it like really hard to live.
uh-huh. It's I mean,
Um,
overall, it's pretty simplified.
yeah, and then depending on the variance of skill with players, so like you and I are both very very like combat centric. Like we understand combat. We do it a
Yeah,
ton. We got our numbers
yep.
so large, such
We
big
we
numbers.
have
And
all
then
of
you
our
look at
combos.
Grant, who does not do that.
Yeah,
Grant is not a big combat guy. So if you have a combat that is super challenging for like you and I, Grant
yeah,
dies in the first round.
yep.
And so
As
it's
what
like,
happened, at
how
the
do
end of
you,
chapter one.
yeah, like, how do you balance that combat? It's very difficult. I've been watching a group that plays first edition,
Yeah.
and it is hilarious. Um, one of the
Dude,
players
first
only
edition
has
is brutal.
one of the players has 2 health, and all of the monsters deal a d6 of damage.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it doesn't matter what like difficulty the monster is. The d6s don't change. It's just how many of them you roll.
Mm-hmm.
There's so I think they said that in first edition the word poison or poison save is mentioned 48 times, but none of the 48 times does it actually tell you what poison does. So it is kind of generally assumed that failing a poison check causes you to instantly die. And so, so like they walk into a room, they like, oh, let me turn this doorknob. They get sprayed with poison. They roll like a 4, and then just their character dies. And it's been like 5 minutes into the episode. Like, fifth edition is easy combat in a lot of ways, so it's really hard to balance. You have to get
Mm-hmm.
really creative and pretty much just write it yourself if you want it to be like challenging but not boring, but not easy, but like not too hard.
Yeah, and
There's
not like
such a
tedious.
fine, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's really difficult. I'm still not very good. Like I've been trying new things. I've been trying different stuff here and there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like, it is not a easy process to make good combats happen.
Yeah.
And especially when you have like with a paladins in comparison to the monsters that are in the book are ridiculous. Like, if you were dealing on average 70 to 80 damage, like
Mm-hmm.
even like challenge rating 15 to 16 like monsters have like 150 health.
Right.
So if you deal 2 attacks that are 80 damage each with like first level spell slots, you're just wiping out challenge rating 15 people as a single character level 13.
Right.
That's tough to gosh dang manage.
Right.
That's
But and
rough.
well, and we kind of talked about this after the episode even too. Is like another challenge to it, right? Is like, so like obviously like, so it kind of like, all of us kind of agreed like last episode, like, man, Cather's really strong right now. However, also it's like that combat was almost tailor made for Cather
Oh
in the
yeah.
sense he literally just got to do whatever he wanted and almost always was able to make a melee attack.
Yep.
And that's
They were
and the key
all
is like,
within melee distance. They were all
uh-huh,
fiends,
uh-huh.
and like you could just hit them. Like, they weren't
Yep.
going anywhere.
And he could always make a melee attack
There
with
were
flanking.
only 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like the Cather's like wet dream.
Yeah.
It was just 3 demons.
Yep.
In an enclosed space within sword range.
Yep. And so literally it's just like, so yeah. And of course, and I got lucky enough to crit
Yep.
a couple times that episode. So like, it's like, man, Cather's doing like massive amounts of damage. It's like, okay, well, we also have like really strong crit rules.
Mm-hmm.
He's a late game paladin. This like, we all knew this was going to happen from the beginning. It's kind of how paladins work this way in normal D&D, let alone with our crit rules.
Yeah,
stuff, right?
With crit rolls, and like pretty much anyone can pick up a paladin and be really good at killing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only thing you need to understand is spend spell slot, deal big dice.
Yep, basically.
I
It's
think
really
that
simple.
paladins might be easier than barbarians.
Honestly, maybe. But anyway, and so like when you have a situation where it's like, okay, where you're like the one thing your character is good at, he gets to do excessively, of course he's going to look really strong.
Absolutely.
But like kind of as you talked about, like with Abinthy, like the versatility of things that Abinthy can do, though, on the other hand, that could also be seen as insanely strong or busted or whatever,
Oh yeah.
So it all just kind of depends.
To be fair, Abinthy is a bit of a bad example because I am very similar to you, and as I said, the only difference talking about the like 20th level Abinthy ability, and let me tell you, Maz, I'll get to that in a second. But like, the only difference between him being a fighter at level, like the 2 levels into fighter, and the not 2 levels into fighter that will be Abinthy at level 20, is he doesn't get to cast Arc Lightning on the same turn that he casts Steel Wind Strike. He just gets to do that next turn. That's the only change. And he's still going to be real disgusting. Now, as a DM, it's even harder to figure out combats and stuff like that, because a really easy but disappointing thing that you can do as a DM is specifically make combats to nerf a specific player or a specific aspect of it.
Right.
Which is, I'm going to say, is probably not good DMing in a lot of ways when it comes to like, because when a player is playing a character and they do something really well, they most likely built the character to do that because they think that it's fun. So as a DM, you probably shouldn't be like, oh, my player really enjoys this specific spell, but for me, it's really hard for my monsters to go about it. So I'm just going to make every combat from here on that spell just not work.
Right.
That's not a very good solution. What I do recommend as a DM, this is a little DM tip, find ways not to nerf players, but to at times temporarily disable things that make combat for them very easy. So they have to circumvent things or come up with a way around it and try new things. So like Abinthy for me is, I mentioned it actually in this episode, he focuses a lot on counterspell. His job is to lock down spellcasters. That's what he wants to do. So the ways that he does that is with counterspell and dispel magic. Very good anti-spell stuff. But often spellcasters will also have counterspell. So they can just counterspell as counterspell, which is bad.
Right.
So I need to come up with ways that will encourage them to use their reaction by either casting very large spells that they go, oh shoot, I need to try to counterspell this, or by like you will see Abinthy specifically leave melee range of people to try to encourage reaction attacks. Because those use your reaction. He'll try to cast spells that require them to use their reactions and stuff, or even just perform actions that make them want to use their reactions.
Right.
That Abinthy has naturally nerfed himself in a way. But as a DM, you can do that with other character things. A good example that can be done just through roleplay is, as you mentioned, Cather likes to hit things with melee. So if they have flying, it makes it really hard to hit them with melee. What you shouldn't do as a DM is have not only every creature fly, but also have them never go down.
Right.
Like have them descend because they're cocky or because they've been taunted or simply because they can't fly anymore. Abinthy's job is also to remove flying from people so Cather can hit it with a stick. Right. It's really tough, Handskate. Like, you worked really hard to make this character that good. To have them be yeeted into oblivion every single session just kind of feels like you're being targeted. That's not fun at all. Now, having a cool challenge that you have to overcome with that busted character, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
I think even like, so like, especially with our group, I even think like it would. I think Lydia and Grant would enjoy combat a lot more because it could then start to become more of a puzzle. And so, in the sense of like, there are certain pieces, and those can be like actual like people we have to fight or certain like things in the room or whatever that we have to overcome and challenge in a certain order. Basically like, so say like in that combat, right? Like there's a wizard, right, that can counterspell Abinthy, right?
Yep.
And then there's this big boss that is flying up in the air and Cather can't get to. So it's like, okay, so clearly like Cather needs Abinthy to get the wizard, the flying person down, but Abinthy can't do that while there's this mage who's keeping Abinthy down. So then clearly objective number one, take out the wizard.
Yeah,
right?
And since both Renaya and Edward are capable of casting spells, they can also be doing things to attempt to bait out that counterspell or to just interfere with the wizard in general.
Right. And so then it kind of becomes more of a puzzle of like we do certain things, and it kind of allows everyone in a way to shine in the ways that they're more well suited. Like both Edward and Grant and Renaya and Lydia are not very well suited to combat. It's just not their thing, which is totally fine. And so then in combat, there should be things that they can do that aren't just
hit it with
cast spells and deal damage. Because that's our thing.
Legitimately, what I recommend as a DM, this is often a thing that I think when designing, especially like boss combats, design your boss combats like a PS2 game, like legit, like
Specifically PS2.
PS2. Because let me tell you, like I mean, you could also go like a Legend of Zelda game or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
But the first thing that comes to mind is like Crash Bandicoot. If you
Okay.
think of
Sure.
Crash Bandicoot boss design, if you design your combats with that in mind and transform those into a D&D type combat where it's like, oh, before we have the damage period of the boss, we're going to go and activate these 3 electrical pylons that will for a round disable the boss and allow us to attack him, while at the
Right.
same time defeating his little minions and things that he spews out and
Right.
stuff like that. That's legitimately good Dungeons and Dragons boss design. I
Yeah.
don't know what else to tell you, because that turns it into, you need to have people who are taking care of the little minions that he spits out, which is like, for us, that's stuff that we're good at.
Right.
You need to have people who are willing to go and like, oh, I need to go roll a check, like an Arcana check, to activate these arcane pylons. That's like puzzle solving. You need to find the pylons, you need to roll that thing. You can honestly even set it up as a puzzle, and stuff like that. And then together, everyone gets to like work together to defeat this boss, while all doing different things that aren't, I roll a d20, see what the number is, and then I roll dice to see how much damage I deal.
Right.
Like, that's legitimately good Dungeons and Dragons boss fight energy, which is sick. And now, mind you, it takes work as a DM,
Right.
which kind of sucks. Like, you have to like think and like use your brain, and but honestly, you, if you DM enough, you'll start to realize that you can and will eventually just start stealing stuff from other sources of media. So legitimately,
Oh, yeah.
just go play some PS2 games, and then design your combat, and no one will know. No one will
Just go
ever
play some Crash Bandicoot.
You can sit there and have Grant say, haha, this reminds me of Spyro, and they go, haha, that's crazy. Like, that's
I wonder why.
peak Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what else to tell you. I've had that happen to me with books, where like I'll have this like plot line happen, and then one of the players is like, that reminds me of insert book series, and I go, haha, wild. I'll just stare off into the distance. Like, they'll never know.
They're catching on to me.
Yeah, boss combats in 5th edition are hard. They're hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the DJ does a good job. Still ways to go, as there is for any DM.
Yeah.
Heck, Matthew Mercer has a ways to go. We are all on an endless road.
Yeah.
And it ends at hell.
Yeah, the only relief from the road, it doesn't actually end. It's just the only relief you get is when you die.
The rest stop is Satan, and he says that, and he says, "Sit down, let's play a game of Dungeons and Dragons." And then all of the people who were upset in the satanic panic are like, "We were right. We called it." Mad. They're there. Or bad. That's it. Bothered against Dungeons and Dragons. I've been rewatching the guest one shot that we did. God dang, it's good.
Yeah, solid.
It could use music.
It's a fun episode.
But it's like good stuff.
Yeah.
I've been like cutting it together. I'm trying to work on my editing stuff for like TikToks and things, and I'm muddling through with zero knowledge and experience.
Yeah,
it's not going too bad. As I've done worse things.
Right.
But yeah. Now, Maz, this is the time. We've talked about the episode. I don't think I have anything else. We have 30 minutes left. If you would like to tell us your homebrew magic item and have us talk about it, see what things we like, what things we don't like, suggestions, this would be the time. I don't know if you're still here. I don't know if you're still listening. But if you are, the time is now.
Also, Maz, if you are still here, earlier you had asked what subclass Melora was, and she was the Fey Wanderer.
Yep.
To answer your question.
It's a cool one thematically.
Yes, it is.
I legit think I just think that Monster Hunter is just really good.
I mean, yeah. Like I said before, like the Xanathar subclasses are really solid, especially like the Ranger ones I really like. which is unfortunate because then that means I have to play a ranger.
And like the whole rest of the ranger thing is pretty meh.
Is Yeah, it's pretty mad. And like also it feels that like Ranger itself at this point just feels really messy to play because there's so many different like
Oh yeah,
revisions
it is
and,
like
like
rat
updated
ed and
ways to play that just feels really, really messy to try and get
yep.
into now, which
I've
is
made up my
unfortunate.
own custom ranger stuff because I was like, screw that.
Yeah,
I don't like any of that going on.
because you have like the base Ranger in the original Player's Handbook, and you have like Unearthed Arcana, and then there's also like revised Ranger stuff from like Tasha's,
Mm-hmm.
and like
It's
yeah.
the ranger class to me feels like, especially base ranger, feels like a class that is entirely the Oath of the Watcher's paladin, where like
Mhm.
this is either the most busted thing in the world or it's
Uh-huh.
completely useless.
Or
There's like
completely, yeah.
zero in between. So if you're in that campaign where like my chosen enemy is the undead and you're fighting against like just undead and you're
Yeah.
like this is awesome, but then you end up in the campaigns where you're like my chosen favorite enemy is a beast and then you're fighting angels and you're like,
Mhm.
well, I am useless.
Yeah, that's like, and honestly, like it's not even like bad to like a bad mechanic to be like, oh hey, there's certain enemies that you're really good at fighting against. The problem is, as a player, you have no control
You don't
over
know what
what
you're
kind
you
of
don't know what
enemies
you're
you
going to be doing.
fight,
So
and so then it requires you to like work actually like, hey DM, like what should I take? Because like you need something that's
mhm.
gonna come up
So
often enough to
here's the
be
thing.
actually helpful, but
So
not like all the time,
it's the
you
same thing
know?
with favorite terrain too, because you're like, oh yes, my character was raised by the coast, but you're adventuring like in the mountains, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Um, here, this is my suggestion for anyone who's wanting to like revise ranger stuff. Have it function similar to like a wizard learning a spell, right? Where they can like spend amount of time and money to be able to do so.
Mhm.
That's one of the things that I've changed for my rangers, where they can spend X amount of time studying a type of creature or a specific area
Mhm.
to either change or add to their favorite enemy slash favorite terrain.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
obviously, like you need to figure it out well so that way it doesn't end up so busted where they're like every creature is my favorite enemy.
Mhm.
Which for the favorite creature you can even have it be that one you switch out instead of adding to it. But
Mhm.
favorite terrain have like when I see a ranger, I think the reason they're a ranger is their ability to understand and adapt to new environments.
Right.
So like if they spend a week within a like coastal environment, or even if it's like 2 weeks or a month, then they should be able to add that to their favorite terrain. They should be able to understand to track things because they've been
Mhm.
looking and researching that. It does seem Ranger is really tough like that. It is one of those in between classes where it's just like I wouldn't say. I mean, that's half casters in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, for the
Where
most
they're
part.
like, yes, I am not quite the other thing, but I am also not quite that. I am here. It's like, why would you play a nature domain cleric when you could just play a druid
Yeah.
and like have better abilities and pretty much the same stat like
Well, yeah,
spells?
or like more specifically, like even like just like the nature paladin.
Yeah. No, no, no. Okay, I will stand by the Oath of the Ancients Paladin. I'll stand by that one.
You'll stand by that one?
I will stand by Oath of the Ancients because specifically to the Dungeons and Dragons book.
Oh.
So the Oath of the Ancients is a little different in my opinion because one, since you're not a spellcaster and you don't get access to the like druid spellbook, that part doesn't feel like druid. Um, and the abilities that you get, if I can get to the right thing, Oath of the Ancients, your channel divinity, whatever. Don't really care about that one. That one does feel very nature domain cleric, very druid esque. but like it's also a channel divinity, which is literally the same ability that clerics have, so it's pretty understandable that it feels the same. Um, Aura of warding, you just have resistance to damage from spells. I don't see that in the druid book. I don't see that being a straight up just like, huh, yes, I'm in heavy armor. And they're like, don't worry, we'll send our mages after you. At a range, there's nothing you can do. And you look at them and you go, you can't hurt me. And then you see the fear in their eyes. Um, and then, like, Undying Sentinel, you just straight up don't die. You get an orc ability. Like, when you're reduced to 0, you're instead reduced to 1. And you just don't get old. Like, you age, but it's like, meh. Like, what are you gonna do, you know? You become the old man in the mountains who's just jacked. And then the champion, you regain hit points. Gosh dang, you can cast spells as a bonus action. Yes, please. He's like, man, screw you, whatever. And then enemy creatures within 10 feet of you have disadvantage on saving throws against paladin spells and channel divinity options. That totally feels different to me than cleric and druid. That I'll stand by with the ancients. I think that's a pretty cool class. You're muted, by the way.
Thank you. I forgot I was, but yes, that's fair.
Oh, like
honestly,
nature domain
really,
cleric is really just a druid, though. Sometimes they're more druidy than a druid is. Come to think of it.
So really, I think this is the essence of it. Really, honestly, half-casters in general are fine. It's just ranger.
Yeah, pretty much. I was thinking about it too. I'm like, yeah. Rangers don't really. So it's they have one of the same complaints that I find with druids actually, where I don't care about animals. I care about plants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I mentioned that sometimes the nature domain cleric feels more like a druid to me than a druid sometimes does.
Mm-hmm.
Because they gain like hostile plant creatures like don't attack you and stuff like that, and you can move through harsh terrain caused by plants and stuff. Druids just care about animals, which I think is really dumb. I want to play a plant druid.
Yeah,
that's like to me, the animals are like a byproduct of druid. They show up to you because you deal with plants.
Right.
It shouldn't be I like animals and the plants show up because of that. No.
Right.
But the druids like never focus on plants. You have like plant growth. Every druid has plant. Heck, gosh dang, nature domain druids, wizards have plant growth. Like any 2-bit spellcaster can go cast plant growth. No, I want a druid that like has the option to like turn into an awakened shrub. Like that's the kind of druid I want to play. Like screw the whole animal transformation. I want to turn into an ent.
I mean, that would actually be kind of rad.
That's sick, dude. Yeah. That's awesome. Where's my plant druid? They completely forgot about that. Like plants are lame.
You gotta make it happen.
Exactly. Like I don't want to wild shape into a tiger. Let me wild shape into an awakened elm. Where I'm just a willowy boy. Actually, that would be a willow. Hello. We're on stream, by the way. What's up, everybody? This is Shay. This is DJ's girlfriend. This is a girlfriend reveal. DJ's not even here for it. Unless this isn't Shay, and I just haven't seen Shay in a very long time. Also, Maz, you're here. Tell us about your homebrew magic item. Quick, while Shay's interrupting Drew. Okay. I wish I could read lips. That would be funny. So, how was that? Was that Shay?
That was Shay, yes.
Okay, I was right. I was like, this is girlfriend reveal. But
not mine.
DJ's not even here, so that's kind of funny. I'm waiting for Maz's response on his homebrew magic item. I need to know.
Magic item.
He mentioned it earlier, and we have the time now. Moment. This is the time.
This is the moment.
Yeah. So
this is your time.
I want plant druid. Okay.
Okay, so it's
And
a
its course of ring that
core.
allows a user to change one. Oh, I love this type of magic item. It's really busted. But it's also
Wait, change
hilariously
one
fun.
letter in a spell's name to change the spell. Oh, that would be interesting.
Um,
Basically, kind of what you tried to do, and DJ said no to
what is that?
when we were trying to get into Sigil.
Oh yeah, kind of
When
like
you
that.
when you were trying to say, "Hey, instead of ouch, I went in." That would be really
Wonderful
rad.
Trinity. So let me tell you, you get into this is a magic item that you should be very careful with, depending on the players that you have, because let me tell you, things can get real dangerous with this spell.
Uh huh.
Um, so for example, let's say you spend a charge
Uh
and you
huh.
turn the spell time stop into time slop. I don't know what that entails.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Do
there.
you
Okay, so
liquefy the timeline?
so there would have to be specific rules as to what kind of words get changed into what. And I
I,
think like
time shop. Do you buy time? Can you sell your time? Does this turn
so.
into the movie that I don't remember the name of?
Okay, so I think really so this would be difficult, and it might actually be a thing where it doesn't work on certain spells. But in my mind, right, basically you have to take the base of whatever the spell is, and you can change the adjective but not the base. So
Oh God, we're getting into grammar.
an example, right? First thing, so like say time stop. So like time is the base thing you're affecting, and the thing you're doing to time is stopping it. So you could affect stop but not time. And in my mind, like you could probably do like something like instead of time stop, you could say like time go, right?
Oh, you're changing a whole
This
word? Oh
this is just
God, that's even
this is
more dangerous, dude.
this is just and this is just ad lib. But like time, time go. And so then maybe for whatever it is, like 1d4 rounds, right? Like you top stop time,
Yeah, it was 1d4 plus like 2 or
like
something like
you
that.
just jump forward 4 rounds.
Oh God, that you see, this is see, I legitimately I've
Or
seen at least 2 to 3 campaigns with a magic item that does almost this exact same thing. It is
uh-huh,
always wild.
yeah,
Um,
or like even maybe a more simple example, right? You could take like fireball, and so like you keep the ball, but you change the fire, and so like fire you can make like water, so then you make a water ball.
but you see, you're thinking too limited here. Even
Well,
with that ruling, you could say horse ball, and then
yeah,
have a ball of
no, 100,
horses.
yeah,
Like
100%. Like yeah, again, I'm purposely being very simplistic with
so,
it just to
I'm
just to
even
give some examples.
so once again to stay on the horse trend, change the spell fire bolt into fire colt, and you end up with a rapidash. Like this is some messed up stuff that you've got going. Now let me tell you, if you have players like Drew in your campaign, definitely give them this magic item, because they're just gonna do simple stuff, right? They're gonna change, like, oh yes, let me think of it. Let me think of
If
one.
you have Aaron on the other hand,
You're gonna
well,
yeah,
see, okay,
you're gonna change the
thing
spell
is,
sleet
so
into sheet, and you're just going to
my
come up with
goal,
with betting.
this is one difference between myself and you, Aaron, right? We both delve into the mechanics of the game,
Except
right?
I'm a corrupt villain.
except except you try to figure out the most extraneous, most extreme version versus I'm still a little tame of like I don't want
Yeah,
to
you
break
look
the
at
entire
it and you're like,
game.
oh, that would be fun. That you're like a Facebook mom. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's nice. And meanwhile, I'm here and I'm like, I could destroy the internet with one word, with one fell key swoop.
Yep.
I'm there. I change one letter and the world is mine to command. I think that putting charges on this thing also like 5 uses per day.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was gonna say
charges
that.
every 3 long rests. That's confusing but better.
Yeah, it gain charges after 3 long rests.
I that is better than like you just get the charges back every. That would be terrifying. But yeah, no. Let me tell you, fun magic item. You got to be pretty
Really,
loose and
really
fast
hard
as a
to
DM.
implement.
Pretty loose and fast. I would say as a prerequisite, the players have to have in mind what the spell will do when they change the letter. Like they can't just change the letter and then expect you to come up with something. So
Uh-huh.
you still have to sign off on it. Where like if they go, I changed the spell Firebolt into Fire Colt, and I would like it, and they just end the sentence there. That doesn't work. If they say I would like to change the spell Firebolt into Fire Colt to summon a small flaming horse that could be used as a rideable mount. You then respond with, I will allow this, but because it's a cantrip, it will be, and a colt, it will be too small to ride unless you are a small creature. So if they're like a gnome, then they're good. But then so they have to know what they want from the spell that they're changing the letter in, and then you have to sign off on it and potentially change it to something that fits what you think would be fair and balanced. Mm-hmm. Now, if they say, I would like the spell Time Slop to be a thing, and what I would like it to do is liquefy the present, the past, and the future into one big pool of time that then recoalesces after those amount of rounds, keeping the random things from the different time periods in their current locations. Because it still only lasts for 1d4 plus 2 rounds. You then have to determine, okay, even if I let this happen, and I'm totally okay with it happening because who wouldn't, this is going to not only irretrievably change the path that this campaign is going. Because if you put it in a real world, like if this was on Earth, someone was like, I cast a spell Time Slop. And then after, let's say they roll a 4 on the d4, after 6 rounds, so what, 6 times 6 is 36 seconds, they open their eyes, and Genghis Khan is in front of them, standing next to, like, Muhammad Ali. Yep. And you're like, whoa, suddenly things are different, all right? You got problems here going on. In a campaign sense, you have to determine, are your players still there?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I would say that the person who cast Time Stop is probably still there. But then you have other serious problems because the rest of the people in this Time Stop situation, those are other players in the game. And they may be very upset if this person casts Time Slop. So let me tell you, you're playing with fire as a DM here. I love it. Another example, Fife Ball, where you just summon a bunch of musical instruments in a ball.
Yep.
A bunch of fifes. I saw one that you could switch letters around. So it would become F-I-E-F ball, Fife Ball, as in like a bunch of fiefdoms. So that's just small little owned areas of lands that have their own individual rulers. So you could have a ball of fiefs.
Create land.
Yeah, you'd create like a small miniature planet as a 3rd level spell. And it just has a bunch of little tiny people, a bunch of fiefs. Like, this concept of magic item is one of my favorites. It's also one of the most derailing magic items you could ever create.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, even giving someone one use is dangerous. But in some ways, giving them more uses might tone it down. Because if you have one use, you want to save it for something big, right? Like, if you're going to mess something up, you're gonna mess it up good. If you give them 6 charges or 5 charges and it recharges very slowly, then they can use it on little sprinkles of stuff. They can salt bay it in there.
I think, Aaron, we've discovered how Limbo was first created.
Now, what's funny is you can also you could just change a spell into a different spell by just having Mending become Sending. And so as a cantrip, you can then cast a Sending spell.
Cast Sending spell. I was also thinking, like, you could change, if you have lightning bolts, you could, fire bolts. So you could literally just, cast lightning bolt as a cantrip as well.
Yep. You can change Mending into Rending and have it do the opposite of Mending.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sick. It's a really cool magic item. Players are what makes this magic item good or bad for a DM. That's the real question that you have to deal with. So good luck. I wish you luck with this magic item.
We salute you, sir.
Oh geez. Now the question is, what do you call this ring? This is my biggest dilemma when it comes to magic items. The Ring of Typos. That's not a bad one. Maz, this magic item is perfect for you. You can actually summon chocolate
That's-
milfs.
That's
Never
really
letting you
funny.
live that one down.
Oh boy.
But that is just about the amount of time that we have for today. It has been 2 hours. It is now almost exactly 3:30 for me. Um, do you have any closing statements, Drew?
This was a lot of fun.
I'm glad.
I
I'm glad you had fun.
I'm very glad I was here for all this. I
Yes,
can't
indeed.
wait, Maz, to see what becomes of your magic item.
Um, thank you everyone who showed up today to talk to us and listen to us rant about how much teleportation sucks and how weird it is that one class does that one thing. Talk about the campaign and chocolate milfs, um, and all sorts of manner of good things out there. Um, I don't want to go through plugs a second time. I'm getting lazy, dude. Like, you know the plugs. You've been through them before. They're somewhere in the stream. I talked about them.
Yeah, you just
Social
scroll back up.
medias, websites, merch stores, supporting us on Patreon. Check out our Discord. That's the stuff. Um, but thank you all for stopping by today. The only thing that I really have left in the chamber to say to y'all. Also, shout out to our new viewers. We had a raid that was super rad. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for all of you who have supported us for so long and continue to do so. But I shall leave you with the phrase that we always say: good luck and godspeed, everyone. We will see you next time, Dungeoneers. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.